It's so nice to meet you. Thank you, Demetra and Daniel, for inviting me to your class. Next slide, please. I would like to share with you some periods of my life. I suffer from cerebral palsy. I am the president of the Wheelchair Dance Sport Association Canada and the exclusive organizer of Miss Wheelchair Canada, the beauty pageant for Canadian women in wheelchairs. I'm a volunteer at both of these positions. I was born in Russia. I lived in Poland for 18 years. I've been in Canada since June 2011. I studied journalism at the University of Warsaw in Poland. I'm the author of 4 poetry and prose books in Polish. From 2012 to 2017, I was the only dancer in the wheelchair dance sport in BC. Next slide, please. Remembering my childhood, I see long lines for food, in which either my weeping grandmother or aunt hold me in their arms, begging people to let them in first with a sick child, but people did not believe that I was sick. I remember spending summers with my grandmother, where I just sat on the bench because I could not walk and because we had no wheelchair. I also had no friends. The only friends I did have when I returned back home to my mother who lived in the north of Russia were dogs and cats. I could not get out of the house surrounded by huge snowdrifts. I remember spending summers with my grandmother, where I just sat on the bench because I could not walk and because we had no wheelchair. I also had no friends. The only friends I did have when I returned back home to my mother who lived in the north. I remember living with Mom. In 1992, when I was 17 and my mom was 50, we left Russia for Poland for our rehabilitation. We lived there until 2011, and then we decided to immigrate once more. When we came to Canada, my mom was 70. We met there many good people in Poland. I made a lot of friendships with my peers. I was very happy there. A few words about my mom. Every woman that brings up a child with a disability, especially single mothers, deserves admiration. I admire my mom. She brought me up without a father. The most important thing for her was the calm and peaceful environment in our home. We were probably lucky, compared to other people in our circumstances, because despite a severe form of cerebral palsy, I'm of sound mind. But if not for my mom, my intellectual abilities wouldn't be developed. In the conditions of the far north, knee-deep in the snow, along the heating pipes, she dragged me on a sled to an old, shabby community club, the only one for the many kilometers, where a new movie was shown twice a year. My mom took an unpaid leave, and we went from one doctor to another all across the Soviet Union, just to hear, it's a very severe case. We don't know how to help you. It was the same until in 1988. We had gone to the clinic in Poland for the first time. We got an invitation to go there back in 1980, but couldn't go there due to the political situation in our country. My mom taught me the first 5 grades in school, because the medical and pedagogical commission in our town decided that I was unable to learn and didn't need any education at all. Every summer my mom took me to the Black Sea, and mostly on our own expense because we rarely received any social benefits. When I was 6, my mom took a chance and decided to forfeit the help from my grandma, who came to us from Tula to take care of me while my mom went to work. My mom taught me to dress and eat by myself. These allowed her to work. I have severe spasticity and apoptosis, but my mom taught me to deal with it and withstand physical pain. When I was 11, I was at the hospital in Estonia. The doctors were amazed that a child with a severe form of spasticity and apoptosis can work so hard to put on her clothes. As any child who grew up without a father, I thought it was fine to have only a mother, but as I became older, I understood how hard it was on my mom. My mom did everything so I could walk. Twice she left everything behind to start a new life, so I can live with dignity. Regretfully, I still can't walk, but thanks to my mom's efforts I achieved so much. Now I'm physically independent. But it took many years of hard work, pain and tears. All my life, when I was ready to give up, my mom told me keep trying, until you succeed. Now, when I say that I want to try something new, my mom says, go on. In 1992 to 2011, Poland was not a very accessible country for people with disabilities. I still couldn't leave the house on my own because my building had steps, and my mom had to help me out every day. Walking up and down the stairs was very dangerous for both of us, but despite those difficulties, I achieved a lot in Poland. I started dancing in a wheelchair. I practically started elementary school and graduated from high school and entered the University of Warsaw at the Faculty of Journalism, and at the same time, I worked at the art gallery as a fundraiser and graphic designer. Also in Poland, 4 of my books were published. Every year, for 10 years, I went to the rock climbing camp for people with disabilities. I will always remember the first 2 weeks of my first camp. They were extremely difficult. I will always remember the sharpness of the rocks. Each step resulted in falling off the rock and lots of bruises. Still, I wanted more and more. The brain hypoxemia, which occurred when I was being born, resulted in cerebral palsy. The activities requiring the physical effort make you breathe very deeply. The lungs work intensively and the oxygen goes to the brain, which results in reducing the spasticity. When the road is very difficult and interesting, which means when I can do myself most of the things on the wall, I'm very tired while going down the rock. I breathe with difficulty. My throat is dry, all my body is extremely weak. Normally my muscles are tense all the time, but directly after climbing, I was very relaxed and able to do almost anything. Every time before climbing, I put on the harness with the instructor's assistance. I tie myself with a line, put on a helmet, and set off. While I climbed, I have to look for the steps, the most prominent elements of the rock, with my legs and stick to them. At the same time, I try to grasp them with my hands, maintain my body as long as possible and, if it's possible, pull it up. Every centimeter counts. Unfortunately, my hands are very disabled and most work has to be done with my legs. The instructor assisted in the pulling movement, who helps me straighten my legs and adhere to the rock. I feel the greatest satisfaction at the moment of touching up there the small metal jamming device which holds the line I'm attached to. This means the end of the road. Going down the rock consists in deviating from the wall by 45-50 degrees and going down facing the rock. According to the instructor, climbing and going down the rock are great forms of rehabilitation. Going down is considered a very good balancing exercise. However, each moment of losing balance results in falls and painful hits. Climbing has a great psychological effect on a disabled person. Even a small rock means an incredible struggle against one's body, doubts, and even fear for many of us. When I looked down on my wheelchair for the first time, I thought it was so small and useless. I also thought that I could do even more if I'd managed to do it.